Now we are going to deal with this high day, sisters and brothers. This is the memorial of the blowing of trumpets. We have, some people would like it, let's say, we should blow the shofar, the ram's horn. We're not into Edomite traditions. What we're into, sisters and brothers, is knowledge. Because we don't have any knowledge. We are woefully uninformed. And the Lord is a God that don't deal with anything just to be wasting time. He is a God that only says what need to be said, and anything he installed and tell us to do, it need to be done, because all of his word is reminding you of what is going to happen. This feast, sisters and brothers, and all the feasts, when I say it all the time, when you understand the 23rd chapter of Leviticus, you understand the plan of God. Because the Lord is telling you what he wants you to do. There's no need to try and get off into interpretation or paraphrasing. Because there's a problem I have, sisters and brothers. Like I was talking to a brother yesterday, and I'm telling him what to read to find out what you need to know. Then he said, that's your interpretation. I said, that's it. Have a good day. Because that is the problem. Your interpretation. If you're going to tell me it is your interpretation, that tells me that you have an interpretation. And I say it all the time. There's no man can interpret the mind of a being that created us out of dirt. It's virtually impossible. But we're going to deal with this, sisters and brothers, because this is the memorial of the blowing of the trumpets, and it is not about getting off into some traditions. It's not about doing anything that's supposed to be cultural. God don't deal with culture, sisters and brothers. God deals with matters of fact. So we're going to start this in 23rd chapter of Leviticus, because this is an important day, like all of his high days are important, because it's something that's going to happen, and you need to know what's going on so you won't get caught up in it. Because we, as a people, are woefully uninformed about everything. And instead of us trying to be informed so we can serve the Lord and get salvation, we get caught up in so-called knowledge. I know more than you. You understand? I have to show you my knowledge. I am not concerned about anybody's knowledge. If you know what you know, and I know what I know, then we don't have to communicate, do we? I don't have no problem with not communicating, sisters and brothers, because I don't have no time for small talk. We're going to start this at 23:1. Leviticus 23:1. Okay, read it.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them,
Go ahead.
Concerning the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts.
See, these are the Lord's feasts, sisters and brothers, not the Jews' feasts. People always want to say, these are the Jews' feasts. The Lord said, these are my feasts. And you don't have but one God you got to deal with, and that's the God that dictated this Bible, sisters and brothers. And even the Father, you don't have to deal with him. You have to get past the Son, because Jesus is the one that dictated this Bible. He said, these are my feasts. Skip down and read verse 4. Read it.
These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. And the 14th day of the
first... these are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocation. Holy assemblies, sisters and brothers. You're supposed to come together on these if you have this capacity or resources or somebody's close to you. He said, because you're supposed to have a holy gathering. This is what this is, sisters and brothers. These are the feast of the Lord. Don't have nothing to do with you. It have everything to do with what the Lord wants. Skip down. We're going to get right to the one that we're dealing with now. Skip down to verse 23. Verse 23. Okay, read it.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying,
Go ahead.
In the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets and holy convocation.
He said, look, you're supposed to have a Sabbath, a memorial, sisters and brothers. This is to remind you of something, okay? Of blowing of trumpets. Not one trumpet, because we're going to show you one trumpet is not going to make the grade. This is a memorial. You're supposed to do this in memory of something even that happened and then something that's going to happen. Go ahead and read.
You shall do no servile work therein, but you shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord.
Now, he said, don't do any servile work. And that's all it says. People call me, what else should we do on this day? I said, you go there and you read it. We just don't offer nothing since Jesus died on the cross. Now we're going to pursue this. Let's go into Exodus, the 19th chapter. Because the trumpets themselves, sisters and brothers, announces something. The trumpet don't bring about drama. It announces drama. It announces the coming of the king. It announces time when it's time to go to war. A trumpet announces when it's time to withdraw from fighting. The trumpets dictates everything, sisters and brothers. And this is what we are after. And seeing what is going to happen when these trumpets start to blow. Because if you don't know what's going to happen, you're going to be wondering what's going on and you're going to end up in the wrong place. Exodus chapter 19. Exodus chapter 19. And we're going to start reading at verse 10. Exodus 19 and verse 10. Okay, go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Go unto the people, and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes, and be ready against the 3rd day. For the 3rd day the Lord will come down in the sight of all of the people upon Mount Sinai.
Now he told Moses, I want you to go and tell the people now, I want you to wash your clothes. I want you to sanctify yourself, because on the 3rd day, 3 days from now, I am going to come down in the sight of all the people and give a message. But we're not concerned with the message today. We're concerned with what happens when he get ready to come down. Skip down to verse 14. Verse 14. And go ahead.
And Moses went down from the mount unto the people, and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes.
Go ahead.
And he said unto the people, Be ready against the 3rd day. Come not at your wives. And it came to pass on the 3rd day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the trumpet exceeding loud, so that all the people that was in the camp trembled.
Now here comes the coming of the Lord, sisters and brothers. This will give you an idea of what's going to happen in the last days. This was no secret. This thing where, they got out here about this old movie they made, Left Behind. All of a sudden the car is driving and it runs in the ditch because somebody that was driving has been raptured off. They don't have a clue of what's going on. All of a sudden they go, what's going on? I'm going to tell you before the Lord comes, everybody's going to know what's going on. Israel is a microcosm of the whole creation. This trumpet got louder and louder and louder, and the people started to tremble. Because it's the announcement of the Lord. This God that we serve ain't going to sneak up on you. Go ahead and read.
And Moses brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with God. And they stood at the nether part of the mount.
Go ahead.
And Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke, because the Lord descended upon it in fire. And the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mount quaked greatly.
So the Lord actually stood on this mountain because he brought the 10 commandments, sisters and brothers. This is what people don't understand. He brought the commandments himself. So you can't say, well, maybe the angel dropped the stitch. No. I brought this. But he came down and the whole mountain was on the smoke. Go ahead and read.
And when the voice of the trumpet sounded long and waxed louder and louder, Moses spake, and God answered him by a voice.
So when the trumpet sounded long and got louder and louder and louder, then Moses spoke and the Lord answered. But you notice, sisters and brothers, the trumpet is blowing here. Because the trumpet announces the coming of a king, a coming of a God. Or either going to war. But it's all by the trumpet, sisters and brothers. And all this is leading somewhere. We're going to get to it. But once the Lord got through giving Israel his 10 commandments, he let Israel go. But boy, these people were scared to death. Let's go into Genesis, the 20th chapter, and we're going to read one verse, verse 18. And not Genesis, I'm sorry. Exodus, the 20th chapter. Exodus, the 20th chapter, and verse 18. I mean, these people were scared to death, but the Lord held them there until he gave them his 10 commandments, because they are very important to him. You get people right now try to tell you, well, you know, it's whatever you believe, whatever you esteem, or whatever. What you do don't mean nothing. If you had all that power, you stopped getting old. But I tell you where your power lies, because don't nobody want to get old. Verse 18, go ahead.
And all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off.
Now, once they was there, they saw all of this. But remember, the trumpets just started blowing, started blowing, started blowing. These people, when the Lord let them go, because they had to have them, they ran away from the mountain. They removed themselves. Then they told Moses, look, we don't want to hear God no more. You talk to us. But then that's in another lesson. But what I'm letting you know, it is the trumpet, sisters and brothers. You need to know what's going on, because the Lord is going to set the end up from the beginning. That is the way he operates. So you won't be in darkness when this thing starts to come to pass. Now let's go into Numbers, the 31st chapter. Numbers chapter 31. Here's another thing when the Lord getting ready to go to war. Let's see what he says he's going to do. Numbers 31. And we're going to start reading at verse 1. Numbers 31 and verse 1. All this is here for our consumption, sisters and brothers. It is all about knowledge. You need to know what to do when it's time for you to do it. Because this whole thing that God's going to deliver you in spite of yourself, something is wrong. All you got to do is look around. You know when a building gets caught on fire, if baby's in there and they can't get to them, the baby burn too? Why isn't the Lord just send an angel in there and deliver all the babies? Because they can't deliver themselves. It don't work like that, sisters and brothers. The Lord tell you how to prepare yourself, what to do to keep from getting in trouble. You have to know this. Verse 1, 31 and 1. Go ahead.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Avenge the children of Israel of the Midianites.
Go ahead.
Afterward shalt thou be gathered unto thy people.
Now the Lord believed in vengeance too. So the Midianites was messing with Israel. He said, now I want you to avenge them. I want you to do this, Moses. I'm going to give you one last task before you go and die. Go ahead and read.
And Moses spake unto the people, saying, Arm some of yourselves unto the war, and let them go against the Midianites, and avenge the Lord of Midian. Of every tribe 1,000, throughout all the tribes of Israel shall ye send to the war. So there were delivered out of the 1,000 of Israel 1,000 of every tribe, 12,000 armed for war.
So Moses told the people, arm yourself. So you had 1,000 of tribe, 12,000 people armed for war. But somebody else had to go too. Go ahead and read.
And Moses sent them to the war, 1,000 of every tribe, them and Phinehas the son of Eleazar the priest, to the war with the holy instruments and the trumpets to blow in his hand.
So now, the war couldn't take place unless the trumpets blow, sisters and brothers. It's with the holy instruments and the trumpets that blow in his hand. The other instruments he's going to find out is the Ark of the Covenant, because the Ark of the Covenant represents the presence of God. But when they go to war, before any war is done, anything is knocked down, these trumpets have to be blown, sisters and brothers. And the Lord's given us an exact amount that have to take place. Now we see that this guy, priest, goes with the trumpets, didn't we? Now we need to find out how many trumpets must he go with. Well, let's go into Joshua and find out about that. Joshua, the 6th chapter. The Lord stations his word all over the book in all generations, so when it's time for you to know what you need to know, you will be thoroughly familiar with it. I tell people all the time that, look, the Lord tells the same story over and over and over. He just tells it from different directions. End results is one. You become God. That's what it's all about. It's not just something here for you to read and get good reading. Oh, I feel so good. I read Proverbs and I go to bed feeling good. I hope you feel smarter. That's what counts. Brother asked me one day, well, brother, what story in the Bible that you like better? I said, from Genesis to Revelation. Because it's not a story to me. It is a road map to salvation. That's what it is. And I want to become God. So if you want to become God, you have to find out how. And you can find out how, sister and brother. You know why I know you can find out how? Because after man had eaten of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the Lord said, unless he put forth his hand and eat of the tree of life and live forever, you put him out of the garden. That let me know that all eating, he's talking with his mind, learning how. That let me know then that this man have a mind that can comprehend enough to become God. And we got to understand that. And stop dealing with small things. Joshua, the 6th chapter. This is the first people that Joshua took down when he come across the Jordan River. 6-1. Joshua 6-1. Go ahead.
Now Jericho was straitly shut up because of the children of Israel. None went out and none came in.
Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Joshua, see, I have given into thine hand Jericho, and the king thereof, and the mighty men of valor.
Now, the Lord let Joshua know, I done delivered this into your hand. But he told Joshua how to proceed in the battle. See, God tells you everything. Because he knows this man is prone to error. And if you don't tell him everything, he's going to make an error every time. Go ahead and read.
And ye shall compass the city, all ye men of war, and go around about the city once. Thus shalt thou do 6 days.
I want you to surround the city. I want you to go around the city once every day for 6 days. Go ahead and read.
And 7 priests shall bear before the ark 7 trumpets of ram's horns.
So now we know how many trumpets involved, don't we? 7 priests shall bear before the ark of the covenant, which represent the presence of God, 7 trumpets. This, sisters and brothers, is here to remind us of what the Lord said he's going to do in the last days, because he said he called the end from the beginning. That's why Revelation is in the book as well as Exodus, because he done told the whole story. Now it's for us to find out about it so we can save ourselves. Go ahead and read what verse?
Middle of 4. And the 7th day ye shall compass the city 7 times. And the priest shall blow with the trumpets. See,
now he passed 1 time for each day. And then on the 7th day, they surrounded the city 7 times, and each time the priest would blow with the trumpet. Go ahead and read.
And it shall come to pass that when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when you hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout. And the wall of the city shall fall down flat, and the people shall ascend up every man straight before him.
Now, he said, once they make that 7th turn, the priest shall blow with the trumpet, and the people shall give a shout, and the walls of Jericho are going to fall down, sisters and brothers. We're going to show you these walls of Jericho that fell down represent the world, because we're going to show it to you and let you understand that God, right now, by the hand of Joshua, is telling you what's going to happen when he comes. These things are here for our consumption. We need to get knowledge. It's okay to feel good, but feel good that you are smarter. That's what you want to feel good about. Go ahead and read.
And Joshua the son of Nun called the priests and said unto them, take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord.
See, this is what people don't understand. Nowadays, they wear, men of the cloth shouldn't be violent. Men of the cloth in Israel led the violence. This is what you don't, because if you're going to be violent, at least be righteous. So they're going to direct the thing. Let the priest go on with them. Go ahead and read what verse?
Verse 7.
Uh-huh.
And he said unto the people, pass on and compass the city, and let him that is armed pass on before the ark of the Lord.
Now let the priests go ahead on, and then here come the soldiers, and now here come the ark of the Lord. That means here come the Lord coming behind them. Go ahead and read.
And it came to pass, when Joshua had spoken unto the people, and the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horn passed on before the Lord, and blew with the trumpets, and the ark of the covenant of the Lord followed them.
See, because that represents the presence of the Lord. Here come the priests. They're blowing with the trumpet. Here come the soldiers that's going to do the war. And after the soldiers come the Lord. Mm-hmm. This is the way it is, sisters and brothers. And we're going to show you it is not going to deviate even down to the last day. But skip down to verse 12. Verse 12 and go ahead.
And Joshua rose early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of the Lord. And 7 priests bearing 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord went on continually and blew with the trumpet. And the armed men went before them, but the reward came after the ark of the Lord. The priests going on and blowing with the trumpet.
Go ahead.
And the second day they compassed the city once and returned into the camp. So they did 6 days.
Go ahead.
And it came to pass on the 7th day that they rose early about the dawning of the day and compassed the city after the same manner 7 times. Only on that day they compassed the city 7 times. And it came to pass at the 7th time, when the priests blew with the trumpets, Joshua said unto the people, shout, for the Lord hath given you the city.
So when they made that 7 rotation, Joshua told the people, shout, because the Lord has given you the city. Because the Lord is what's doing this, sisters and brothers. And let's see what happened when they shouted. Skip down and read verse 20. Verse 20. Go ahead.
So the people shouted when the priests blew with the trumpets. And it came to pass, when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat. So that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city.
So when Joshua told the people, priests to blow, the people blew the horn. 7 priests blew 7 horns. Then the people shouted, and the whole wall of Jericho all around fell down, and the people took it. This was telling you what's going to happen in the future. Now let's go to the future. Let's go into Revelation, the 6th chapter. Now, this is Joshua, the 6th chapter. The Lord will even guide in the hand of the ones that put the chapter in here. Revelation, the 6th chapter. Because then you're hearing people on, well, you know, we New Testament Christians that are Old Testament. I'm going to tell you something, sisters and brothers. If it's written in the Old New Testament, it's in the Old Testament. But when you get it from both ends, from both books down, that's what understanding is made out of. And you don't be running around, well, you know, I believe, my interpretation is, there ain't no interpretation. You either believe it the way it is, or you don't believe it. Like I had to show a brother one time, we was dealing with something. He said, well, me and another brother, we read between the lines. I took him to Isaiah the 28th chapter where he said, line up on line. You just have to trust in the Lord. He knows what he's doing. Trust in it. I don't care how it looks. Trust in him. He knows what he is doing. Revelation 6, and we're going to start at verse 12. This is a book that a lot of people don't go in, but then they don't understand that Revelation ain't nothing new. It's just to reveal something that is supposed that had been told down through the generation. And the way the Lord operated, if you want to know how the Lord going to operate tomorrow, find out how he operated yesterday. And you can look for it. This is the case in point. We're going to start at verse 12. Revelation 6 and verse 12. Okay, read it.
And I beheld when he had opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind.
See, now, when people are talking about the Lord coming privately, now, when the Lord came to talk to Moses then, did the people know about it, or was it a big secret? So they trembled, didn't they? And when he got through talking, they ran away from the mountain. Now, all of a sudden, the sun going to turn black. The moon going to turn red. and the stars going to fall, do you think this is going to go unnoticed? Go ahead and read.
And the heaven departed as a scroll that is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places.
Now, all of a sudden, too, the heaven just going to roll back, sisters and brothers, just like somebody rolled a great big scroll back. And said the mountains and everything going to be shaken. Heaven and earth going to be shaken. Go ahead and read.
And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth upon the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb.
Wait a minute. You mean they're going to actually see him? Yes, sister and brother. When the heaven roll back, you're going to see the Lamb sitting right there on that throne. He's going to be looking at you. That's why the kings of the earth and all these people that say there is no God and all these false preachers and false prophets that have been lying on God, they're going to call for the rocks and the mountain to fall on them because they know now that he is. And they're going to know something too. So hide us from his wrath because somebody know they have a head whooping coming. But what they've done is they made Jesus a powder puff. You understand? That he ain't going to do nothing. He loved everybody. That always puzzled me. Because St. John the 5th chapter tells you that nobody has ever seen the Father at any time or heard his voice. That means if you have never seen the Father at any time, the only God you've ever dealt with is Jesus. And he acted real strange for it to be a powder puff. He got mad and drowned the whole world and just saved 8 people. Got mad and destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, except for Lot, his 2 daughters. And he even killed Lot's wife for looking back when he said, don't look back. That's a weird powder puff, ain't it? He destroyed the tribe of Benjamin down to 600 men for protecting Sodomites. Almost destroyed a tribe out of Israel. This is a powder puff. You better find out about this God. Because if you don't, you got you a problem. But they made him all, and that was Jesus. Years ago, I used to work with a Gentile. I don't like that old God of the Old Testament. He's so hard. But to the God of the New Testament, I said, have you ever read Revelation? I wouldn't even go to other places because I knew it was beyond it. But what happened? Heaven rolled back like a scroll, and they said, hide us from the face of him that sat on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. You have never heard that Jesus had wrath, did you? Go ahead and read.
For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand?
And who shall be able to stand? Only one that has some understanding, sister and brother. But during this time, there will have been a time that's going to come upon the world that's called the Great Tribulation. 3.5 years of a time so bad until the Lord said there was never a time before like this, and there shall never be. He even said, if I don't cut it short, there ain't going to be no flesh saved. But when that heaven rolled back like a scroll, bam, that's the end of it. Now it's time for the Lord to bring some tribulation and wrath upon this earth. But before he do that, his servant, the ones that did not make it to the wilderness, will have gone through the worst time. This is the time, if you don't receive the mark of the beast, you can't buy or sell. I don't care how much money you have. This is the time they're going to cut righteous people's heads off and kill them and slay them, and you're going to look at it, and then you're going to have to maintain your faith in your God or receive the mark of the beast and cross over. There's going to be a time, sisters and brothers, like there's never been before. And people are going to be full, and the church is going to be full Sunday, and don't nobody know about this. Even though it's written in the book. So, but before, and when that time is over with, when the heaven rolled back like a scroll, that's the end of the Great Tribulation by the hand of the beast and false prophet. Now, the Lord's going to bring you here. But before he do that, he is going to seal his servant. Let's go into Revelation the 7th chapter. Revelation the 7th chapter. And we're going to start reading at verse 1. Revelation 7 and verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
And after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth.
Go ahead.
That the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree.
Now you got four angels. Hold back the four winds. That's the nations, sisters and brothers, not wind itself. These are the same because the Lord defined nations as winds. Like in the 7th chapter of Daniel, when he saw the four winds of heaven come up from the sea, diverse one from another. It's talking about nations. So the Lord had these angels hold back these nations because he had something he had to do. Go ahead and read.
And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their forehead.
Now the Lord said, I'm going to bring some real drama on this earth. But I'm not going to bring it on my servant because they have suffered through great drama. So I'm going to seal my servant. Go ahead and read.
And I heard the number of them which were sealed. And there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel.
Now, there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. In other words, 12 tribes, 12 per tribe. Now, we're going to learn something on our way to learning something. You have these groups running around telling me, this is the hierarchy of their religion, right? 144,000. But they're Gentiles and everything else. This says Israel, don't it? Right. Why is it that somebody don't have the good sense to say, well, look here, this says Israel here? Right. You mean all the top people in your religion that's going to be saved? And one thing is, if ain't but 144,000, why are you working? But these are all Israelites. But then you just can't accept them because they ain't the only one that's going to come through this great tribulation. This is the great tribulation. This is another lesson we will show you about it, sister and brother. There's a lot more to this than meet the eye. But it didn't stop there. Skip down to verse 9 and read it.
After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number.
I beheld, and look, a great multitude that no man could number. Go ahead.
Of all nations.
Of all nations. How absolute is all?
Absolute.
Go ahead and read.
And kindreds.
And kindreds.
And people.
And people.
And tongues.
And languages. Go ahead.
Stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands.
So you can't just start with the 144,000 Israelites. A whole lot of other people out of a whole lot of other nations came through that great tribulation and survived it without getting the mark of the beast on them. The Lord sealed them. He said his servants didn't. Right. That means that Israel ain't going to be the only one to be a servant of God. Then it said, put a seal on my servants. If it's his servant, then he has servants among the other nations so vast until you cannot even number them. Right. So why are we so small-minded that we think the Lord is just going to save Israel? Sometimes, sisters and brothers, I listen to brothers talk, and I just have to walk out the room because I want to start calling them stupid fool and everything else. But I just walk out the room. Don't say nothing. You know what our mothers told you? If you can't say nothing nice, don't say nothing at all. So now once the heavens roll back like a scroll, once the Lord done put an end to great tribulation by the hand of the beast and false prophet, now he has sealed his servant. Now it's time for him to pour out his wrath. Now let's see how you're going to set this thing up. Let's go into the 8th chapter of Revelation. Revelation, the 8th chapter. And we're going to start at verse 1. Revelation 8 and 1. Go ahead and read it.
And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was a silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them which were given 7 trumpets.
And I saw Gabriel, which stood before God.
No.
Wait a minute now.
7 angels.
I saw 4 angels. I saw 8 angels.
No. 7
angels. How many priests was back there with Joshua in it?
7.
And what did they have?
Trumpets.
7 trumpets, sisters and brothers. Skip down to verse 6 and read it.
And the 7 angels, which had the 7 trumpets, prepared themselves to sound.
Now remember, the trumpet don't bring about drama. The trumpets announce drama. The trumpets don't come in the clouds. they announced the one that's coming in the cloud. So now you got 7 angels with 7 trumpets to blow. That means they have to announce some drama from somewhere else. Put your mark in here, because we're going to be in and out of this all afternoon, because we're going to go and we're going to run some of this drama down. Now let's go into Revelation the 15th chapter. That's what I was trying to explain to this brother yesterday. But when he dropped the interpretation word on me, it was over with. Sisters and brothers, if I have time, I will answer your question until you faint. Long as you have asked the question and you accept what I read to you. But if you going to tell me about my opinion and my interpretation, I don't have 2 seconds for you. I don't care if I ain't got nothing to do but sit down and look at the wall. Oh, this thing is too important. I'm going to listen to you. You ain't even, ain't nobody, I don't know nobody over 100 years old. So if you're not over 100 years old, any information that you have acquired have been through hearsay or publication. Because you wasn't there. And we may as well deal with reality, sisters and brothers. That's all I have time for. When I was in the streets, I dealt with jive. But when I got tired of the jive, I dealt with reality. And that's all I'm going to listen to. You will not jive me. I don't want to hear no small talk. I don't chew no fat. Revelation 15 and verse 1. Go ahead.
And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of God.
Oh, so now we got 7 angels that's going to bring the 7 last plagues. So now we know what the trumpets are going to announce. When you get ready to pour a plague out, the trumpet's going to let you know. Heads up, something else is coming your way. Skip down to verse 6. Verse 6 and go ahead.
And the 7 angels came out of the temple having the 7 plagues, golden, pure, and white linen, having their breasts girded with a golden girdle.
Go ahead.
And one of the 4 beasts gave unto the 7 angels 7 golden vials full of the wrath of God, who liveth forever and ever.
Now these 4 beasts are the 4 cherub angels, sister and brother, that the Lord put around him in the Garden of Eden. Since he did that, everybody got to go through them. So they handed him what? 7 vials of wrath? Go ahead and read.
And the temple was filled with smoke from the glory of God and from his power. And no man was able to enter into the temple till the 7 plagues of the 7 angels were fulfilled.
So now, these guys had to pour out their 7 vials of wrath upon this earth, which is plague. So now, let's go back over to Revelation the 8th chapter, because we're going to be flip-flopping here. Revelation the 8th chapter, and we're going to read verse 7. Revelation 8 and 7. 8 and 7. Go ahead.
The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, and the 3rd part of the trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up.
You mean the earth ain't going to know this going on here? Think about it. This is going to be a big secret. But keep your marker here. Now let's go back to Revelation 16th chapter. Maybe you'll keep your place there so we'll be in and out. Revelation 16th chapter. Because we want to keep up with this. And we're going to start at verse 1. 16 and 1. Go ahead.
And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the 7 angels, Go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth. And there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image.
Now this is the guess why you don't want to receive that mark of the beast. You want to have mark of God on your sister and brother. Because when they start bringing this drum up on the earth, you are the one that's going to be in trouble if you got that mark on you. So they went and and they poured it out on the earth. Some more drama comes. Now let's go back to Revelation, the 8th chapter. And we're going to read a few of these. Okay, we're not going to flip-flop verse for verse. I'd have you here until 6 o'clock this evening. Revelation the 8th chapter, and we're going to start reading at verse 8. Revelation 8 and 8. Okay, go ahead.
And the second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea. And the third part of the sea became blood. And the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died. And the third part of the ships were destroyed.
So if you was in that area, whatever was in that area died, sisters and brothers. That one angel blew with the trumpet, the other angel poured out the vial of wrath. In other words, he came down and tore something up. Go ahead and read.
And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from the heavens, burning as it were a lamp. And it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the mountain and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood. And many men died of the waters because they were made bitter.
Now, he did something and messed the water up. Other scripture, other parts of Revelation tell you that bitter, it was made bitter by turning it to blood. Same thing that Moses them did, sisters and brothers. You look at some of these plagues, the same stuff. This God operates the same thing. In fact, when you go back and look at when the Lord destroyed Egypt, before he took Israel out of Egypt, he brought 3 terrible plagues upon all Egypt, and then he stopped it, and then he sealed his servant and protected him from the last 7 plagues. This all is one story. I keep telling you that he's telling you the same thing over and over again. This is the way I operate now. I comes in the middle of the road. You don't want to be ran over, stand on the side. And if you're in the middle of the road and you get ran over, ain't no need of hollering when you're all beat up and dying. God have mercy. He said, I had mercy. I told you to stand on the side. You didn't listen. What verse?
Verse 12. And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise.
So when that third angel, this angel sounded the horn, another angel that had the vials of wrath poured it out, brought some drama. You notice all this is coming upon man. This ain't no secret thing in the heaven. That's why I wonder what they mean, left behind, car running in the ditch. That is the epitome of stupidity. And people believe it. Go ahead and read.
And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the 3 angels which are yet to sound. He said, woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth. If you think this is bad, wait till you see what's coming. And it's all going to take place on this earth, sisters and brothers. And you ain't going to get raptured off nowhere. You're going to be right here to go eyeball to eyeball with all this drama. That's why the Lord wants you to know about this. Because it is your knowledge that's going to save you. Your knowledge. The knowledge that God gave you. Now let's go into Revelation the 9th chapter. Because he said these 3 coming. He woed them 3 times. The 3 woes. You thought you had seen some woe. You finna get some woe now. 9 and 1. Go ahead. And the 5th angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth. And to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit.
Now this is when he mobilizing armies now, sisters and brothers. He let that angel come down and open up that bottomless pit, and here come locusts. This is the armies of the Western Europe, sisters and brothers, that are led by 10 nations. But other lessons we can make it clear. But right now we're dealing with the memorial of the blowing of the trumpets. All this stuff is here. Before anything happened, the 5th angel sounded it. Go ahead and read.
And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth. And unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power.
Go ahead.
And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their forehead.
Look, this is chemical or germ warfare here. What are you going to hurt men with? It's not going to mess up the grass, not going to mess up the trees, ain't going to blow down no building. It's only going to hurt the men that don't have the seal of God on them. Because they don't want to kill these people. They want to incorporate these people. They even have a prayer in a catechism that says, pray for Russia. They don't want to destroy Russia. They want to incorporate Russia and put Russia under the universal church. So I ain't going to kill them. What am I going to do to them? Go ahead and read.
And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. And in those days shall men seek death and shall not find it. And shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them.
That's some bad stuff, ain't it? You're going to be suffering so bad until you're going to want to die, but this chemical or germ warfare they use is not an agent for killing. It is an agent for converting. Come to me or you're going to suffer. For 5 months. In the meantime, where is Jesus? Sitting there in heaven looking down on it. And you looking at him for 5 months. You didn't learn that in your Sunday church, did you? So you looking at him a long time. That's why I said when he come, every eye going to see him. How absolute is every? Skip down to verse 11. Verse 11. And go ahead.
And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. One woe is past, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter.
Now this angel of the bottomless pit is Satan the devil. And in Greek and in Hebrew, both of them mean destroyer. Destroyer. But the people that he was punishing, they had a different idea. What verse up?
We're in verse 13.
Go ahead.
And the 6th angel sounded.
Now this is another woe. And the 6th angel sounded. Go ahead and read.
And I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar, which is before God, saying to the 6th angel, which had the trumpet, loose the 4 angels, which are bound in the great river Euphrates.
Now what are these 4 angels? When did the Lord employ them? In the beginning of the 7th chapter. Then he told the 4 angels to hold back the 4 winds of heaven. He said, okay now. The Lord worked it and worked it and worked it. Then he let Western Europe attack Eastern Europe. Like a brother told me, oh, brother, this thing is almost over, because America finna jump Iran. I said, it don't have nothing to do with prophecy. The Lord told you it's going to be wars and rumors of wars. He said, but don't be worried. Because that's got to come. And then he told you the signs. This God don't want you wonder every time somebody move a battleship, it's finna stop. Or some little bitty despot country jumps another little bitty country. Armageddon is around the corner. Nothing is going on until the Lord says going on. And he controlling it. He said, loose them, didn't he?
That's right.
The 4 angels that's bound in the great Euphrates. The Euphrates come through Turkey, sisters and brothers. You got to come across the Euphrates to come through Turkey to get to Western Europe and also get to the valley of Megiddo, which is in northwest Jerusalem. You got to come across the Euphrates River. So what happened when he said loose them? What happened? Go ahead and read.
Verse 15. And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the 3rd part of men.
These guys had one purpose and one purpose alone. To kill a 3rd part of men. Don't you know that's a lot of people? Go ahead.
And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. And I heard the number of them.
How many soldiers is that?
200 million.
200 million soldiers. United States ain't got no 200 million soldiers. Russia don't have no 200 million soldiers. But everybody east of the Euphrates, you got Russia, you got China, and you got all them that you think are allies, they're going to be under the banner of Russia. And when you put all them big armies together, you will have 200 million soldiers. And they coming, sisters and brothers, and they are not, but they coming to kill the third. They ain't coming to punish nobody for 5 months. They coming to kill. Go ahead and read.
And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and of jacinth and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone.
Can you imagine John looking at all this stuff and trying to figure out what to call these war machines? But this had to be something. You were in the days of Jesus, and you looking at what's going to take place beyond us. And the most powerful weapon they had at that time was a big catapult that threw a big rock. Now you're looking at all this stuff. The fire coming out of their mouth. Brimstone. I know that John had to have one solid mind or he would have went crazy. But go ahead and read.
By these three was the third part of men killed. By the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone.
Now, but let me show you. These trumpets only pronounce the destruction. Now let's go and see where they came from to do the instruction and who kicked them off. Let's go into Revelation 16 chapter. Revelation chapter 16. Revelation 16. And we're going to start at verse 12. Revelation 16 and verse 12. Okay, read.
And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates.
You notice how the sixth trumpet, when it was blown, it said, loose the 4 angels in the great river Euphrates. So right here, when the sixth poured his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and what happened?
And the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared.
That the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. Sisters and brothers, go and find the Euphrates River on the map and run it all down. And everybody east of the Euphrates River is going to come across there. They're going to eat turkey up on their way to a dinner. 200 million soldiers. That's a lot of soldiers. We ain't talking about citizens and men and women just running around watching the fight. These are combatants. Because they're coming to do a big war. That's why the Lord had to intervene. Go ahead and read.
And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet.
That let me know that these are words, sisters and brothers, because how can the devil have an unclean spirit inside of him? He is an unclean spirit. Conversation. What started wars? Conversation. What started fights? Conversation. Where friction come from? Conversation. That's why James tell you that the tongue is an unruly evil.
Right.
So the words that they spoke brought all these combatants together. Because if we're going to go to war now, this is the war. Go ahead and read.
For they are the spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and the whole world to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty.
Oh, so the battle is the Lord's, ain't it? So that means he's orchestrating this whole thing. You know why he's doing it, sisters and brothers? Because the world has gotten to the place like it was before he drowned everybody. He ain't going to do it this time. But before he drowned everybody, it said it got to the point that the thoughts of man was evil continually. And that's where we are now. So he set this thing in the generation that he know he's going to have to put a snuff out. Otherwise, they're going to infect everybody. Got to the point now, if you normal, you abnormal. So he's going to gather them together to the great battle of the Lord Almighty. Go ahead and read.
Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. He
said, now, behold, I'm getting ready to come now. I come as a thief. See, people have misread this. That means he's going to come in secret. No, he's going to come as a thief to you if you ain't got no knowledge. He told you when he was here on earth that if the good man had known the hour that the thief was coming, he would have prepared himself and his house wouldn't have been broke up.
That's right. That's right.
If you know the sign and you know where to look, you're going to be saying, okay, all right. I was wondering when that was going to happen. I knew that was next because you're going to know the order of things. He said, but them that are naked, I'm talking about with knowledge. You ain't talking about naked physically. You're naked spiritually. To you, you're going to come out the thief. And he's going to expose your nakedness. And then all of a sudden, your holiness is going to be nothing but shame. Go ahead and read.
And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon.
That's where the word Armageddon come from, sisters and brothers. That is called the valley of Megiddo or the mountain of Megiddo. That's where all the major battles took place. If you go back and you look at history and come on down, I mean major battles in northwest of Jerusalem, in the land of Israel. Because that's where the beast and false prophets are going to be in Israel. And the battle is going to take place there. Now let's look at this battle. Now let's go into Joel. The second chapter. Joel, the second chapter. Because the Lord had all them trumpets blow, and then when them trumpets blew, the Lord had them angels bring it to pass. That's why he had 7 trumpets and 7 angels, and 7 trumpet, angels with 7 trumpets, and he had 7 angels with 7 vials of wrath. Because he is getting ready to get ugly with this earth. This earth don't have a clue of what the Lord is getting ready to do with it. And people sitting around, and they're praying, oh, you're going to pray, and I love the Lord. We're going to see how much you love him when he starts peeling your head. Because he tell you what he wants you to do, sisters and brothers. That's the whole thing. This ain't the word. God ain't there's no secrets in the word of God. There is no room for interpretation. He tell you what to do. You do not read between the lines. You read on the line. He is very clear. Told Adam and Eve, stay away from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Because the day that you eat of that tree, that's the day you going to die. Adam and Eve didn't listen. Now we are dying. Did he say, oh, I feel so sorry for my little bitty children. They so brand new. I'm going to give them another break. He gave them a break. He said, stay away from the devil. You better learn that, sister and brother. Because you don't have a clue who you're dealing with. This God, this Bible, is one dangerous fellow. So now, we just got through reading about the kings of the east, how they come across Euphrates. Joel wrote about them too. Let's see what Joel saw. We're going to start at verse 1. 2 and 1. Go ahead.
Blow ye the trumpet in Zion.
Wait a minute. How did it start out?
Blow the trumpet.
Because the trumpet called it, sisters and brothers. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion. Go ahead.
And sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble. For the day of the Lord cometh, for it is nigh at hand.
Because the day of the Lord, that's the day when the Lord is going to bring this thing to happen. It's near at hand. Go ahead and read.
A day of darkness and of gloominess. A day of clouds and of thick darkness. As the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong. There hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it.
So look, this is going to be a day of darkness and gloominess. Everybody, I'll be glad when Christ comes. No, you won't. A day of darkness, gloom. So there's a people that's coming. They ain't never been the lights. You ain't never had a 200 million soldier army at no time. Here they come. Go ahead and read.
Even to the years of many generations. A fire devoured before them, and behind them a flame burneth.
Go ahead.
The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness.
Look. The Lord and these people, when Russia and all the allies come across the Euphrates River, they're going to destroy everything. Behind them ain't going to be nothing but waste and destruction. Finish this verse.
Yeah, and nothing shall escape them.
Absolute is nothing, sister and brother. I guess with 200 million soldiers, you can kill a lot of people, can't you? Skip down to verse 10. Verse 10 and go ahead.
The earth shall quake before them. The heavens shall tremble. The sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining.
That lets you know this is the same time, ain't it? The same time. Go ahead.
And the Lord shall utter his voice before his army.
Wait a minute, before his army? You mean Russia and all them eastern nations? The armies are the Lord's army? Of course, sister and brother, don't you know that Satan is God's angel? He ain't running around doing what he want to do. He is controlled. Being that he didn't want to be a messenger and bring the truth, God found a lie in him. He said, but you still a ministering spirit, so I'm going to let you be the destroyer. Russia ain't going to come on her own. This is the Lord's battle. So he going to utter his voice before his army. Go ahead and read.
For his camp is very great. For he is strong that executeth his word. For the day of the Lord is great and very terrible. Who can abide?
You know who can abide? The one that's got some knowledge. That's who can abide. If you got some knowledge, you can survive this thing, sisters and brothers. Because there's a place of safety that just where you will be. You be laying out there looking at the drum. But that's another lesson. We'll show you that. So that was under the sixth angel, right?
That's right.
And the sixth trumpet. Let's go and deal with the last one. We said one more, two woes are passed now. Now we got us one more woe left. So let's go into Revelation 11 chapter. Revelation the 11th chapter. See, this is what we want to learn about this kind of stuff. Don't be concerned with blowing some ram's horn. This is what you be concerned about. Edom blowing a ram horn. And this word going to come down on him like a Mack truck. And he ain't going to know what to do. If he was smart, he'd listen to his brother. We tell him what to do. Revelation 11 and verse 14. 11 and 14. Okay, go ahead.
The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly.
Second woe is past, and look, the third woe cometh quickly. Go ahead and read.
And the seventh angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven, saying, The kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ.
Look, when them seven angels, blow them seven trumpets on the seventh day, what happened to the walls of Jericho? They fell and they became Israel, didn't they? When that seventh angel blow, the whole world is going to come Jesus and the Father. Ain't going to be no nation going to run nothing no more. Oh, they're going to be there. We have a lesson to let you know that the nation's going to be where they're going to be. However, you're going to have a new boss on the block. They call him Jesus. And he made a statement that don't nobody pay attention. He said, whosoever fall on this stone shall be broken. But whoever the stone fall on are going to be grounded to powder. You ain't going to leave nothing of you. You better find out about this guy. What verse are we?
The end of 15.
And
he shall reign forever and ever. And the 24 elders which sat before God on their seats fell upon their faces and worshipped God.
Go ahead.
Saying, we give thee thanks, O Lord God Almighty, which art and wast and art to come, because thou hast taken to thee thy great power and hast reigned.
And that's what he's done. He's going to reign. Go ahead and read.
And the nations were angry. And thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth.
So now it's the time have come for you to destroy the ones that have destroyed the earth, also to reward your saints. In other words, it's time for you to raise the dead and change the righteous now. In the meantime, remember, the Lord had been sitting there for at least 5 months. You should have known. Some people have been in church for 30 and 40 and 50 years and don't even know that. He said, but it's time to reward those that have served you. Now it's time to punish those that have destroyed the earth. Go ahead and read.
And the temple of God was opened in heaven, and there was a scene in his temple, the ark of his testament. And there were lightnings and voices and thunderings and an earthquake and great hail.
So that don't sound like no big secret coming to me, does it? But now let's go. That's the trumpet. Let's go into the 16th chapter of Revelation. Revelation 16. Because I like to listen to what they say when this drama take place. Revelation 16. And we're going to start reading at verse 17. Revelation 16 and verse 17. Go ahead.
And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air. And there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne saying, "It is done."
It is done. Remember, the Lord called the end from the beginning. In Genesis, the first chapter, he laid out him a blueprint of what he was going to do. And then in the second chapter, he started to bring it to pass. And he is still bringing it to pass. And when that seventh trumpet blow, that seventh angel that throws out the vial of wrath, that means the one that's going to bring the drum on it, said, "It is done." Not just in Jerusalem, all over the world. It's done. Go ahead and read.
And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as not since men were upon the earth. So mighty an earthquake and so great.
Go ahead.
And the great city was divided into 3 parts. And the cities of the nations fell, and great Babylon came in remembrance before God, to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. And there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. And men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great.
Now, you know a talent is 100 pounds. Ooh. We ready for that? The world ain't ready for that. That's what's going to happen when Jesus sneak you off the earth when your car run in the ditch. Maybe one of them big towns of hell is going to knock it off. That's the seventh trumpet. Now let's go and look at the coming of Jesus that everybody tried to get the rapture out of. Let's go into 1 Thessalonians, the 4th chapter. Sisters and brothers, I just look and I listen to these people. I said, how can you buy some of this stuff that these ministers are putting on the table? I mean, it's just like somebody just took a hot iron and, well, Paul, I think it was Peter, one of them said that your conscience see it with a hot iron. It's like somebody took a hot iron and just stuck it in your head and burnt your brain, cooked it. Because you're doing no thinking, no reasoning. 1 Thessalonians, the 4th chapter. 1 Thessalonians, the 4th chapter. And we're going to start at verse 14. 4 and 14. This is where the people come, where the rapture. You know, when Jesus tell you that they're going to be 2 grinding in the mill. Yeah, one going to be taken and one left. That is correct. There could be 2 working in the field. One going to be taken, and and one left. That is correct. But this is the time when this is going to take place. But we're going to pursue and see what it was they taken at, to. And where did they end up? So every now and then, it is good to read the whole story. Verse 14, go ahead.
For if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in Jesus will God bring with him.
Now, we believe that. So now, if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, and I believe with all my heart, sister and brother, then I also believe that Jesus, the one that died in Jesus, that sleep in Jesus, he's going to bring him with him. But now, I got a little problem here. If he's going to bring him with him, and he is in heaven, and we're going to be on earth, or in the earth, how is that going to be accomplished? Let's read and find out why. Go ahead.
For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep.
We're not going to stop the dead folks. Go ahead and read.
For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout.
Wait a minute, go ahead.
With the voice of the archangel and with the trump of God.
What did Joshua tell these people?
Shout.
When the trumpet blow, give a shout.
That's right.
The Lord letting you know it ain't going to be no difference, sister and brother. You're going to blow the trumpet, there's going to be a shout. I even know what he said. In the 11th chapter of Revelation, you know what he said? Come up here. And what's going to happen? Go ahead.
And the dead in Christ shall rise first. then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord.
The dead in Christ going to rise first, and those of us that make it, 'cause I keep using us as living because I intend to see this thing. And I'm not talking from emotion. I'm talking from prophecy. We're going to change, and we're going to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. But the question nobody asks is, where is that? Remember, he descended, and we ascended, and we met in between, didn't we? Isn't this what we just got through reading? So the question is, where do we go from there? Well, you know, we're going to be caught up in the crowd. You know, we at the Israeli God, we fly all over. We got camps all over. We're in the plane all the time. I was looking down on the clouds on the way from Atlanta last week. We had some other brothers looking down at the clouds. I know Andrew looked down at the clouds on his way back from Alaska. We look down on the clouds all the time, so that ain't very high, is it? But we're going to meet the Lord in there, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Now we're going to know where that's going to be. Let's go into Zechariah, the 14th chapter. Brother, boy, all this stuff going to happen at the trumpets? Yes. That's why we're observing this day. Look at all this stuff this day. That's why it's called a memorial of the blowing of the trumpet. It's reminding you every year what the Lord is going to do. How can you cheapen this by blowing some horn of a beast? You better get into this knowledge. This is what counts. Sometimes people say, brother, boy, you mighty hard. You're too strict. No, I ain't strict. What I'm doing is I'm following the dictates of the one that is strict. He wants you to know what's going on because he don't want you to get cut off. He wants to save you. He said by the mouth of Peter, his long suffering for our sake. Because it is his desire that none would be lost, but all would come to repentance. So he's given us everything we need to get to where we need to be. Zechariah 14, and let's start at verse 1. 14 and 1. Because we're going to meet the Lord in there. He'll come again. Go ahead and read.
Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee.
Go ahead.
For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished.
This is the Battle of Armageddon, which is going to take place in Megiddo, northwest of Jerusalem. Go ahead and read.
And half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city.
Now, look, sisters and brothers, I'm trying to show you how knowledge is. You have people over there now at the left here in other parts of the United States, and it's in Jerusalem right now. That is the wrong place to be at this time. Because when the Lord started to drop this instruction on the head, you think, oh, this is an Israelite here, ain't going to kill him. That is the importance of knowledge. You can be in the right place, but you're at the wrong time. And you're going to get to proceed. You're going to get the proceeds of a person that's in the right place at the wrong time. City going to be rifled, going to be shot up. Your women going to be raped. Go ahead and read.
Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle. And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east. And the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof, toward the east and toward the west. And there shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall remove toward the north, and half of it toward the south.
So where's the Mount of Olives, sisters and brothers? That's right over there in Jerusalem. So when the Lord's feet hit that mountain, he will have fulfilled the prophecy that the angels told his apostles. For the last time when he was on this earth, Jesus ascended, and his apostles were looking up at him, and these two men, which I knew was angels, said, ye men of Israel, why are you standing gazing up at Jesus? This same Jesus will come back in like manner. And then they left from off the Mount of Olives. They said, which is a 7-day journey from Jerusalem. He's coming exactly where he was when he left. And the mount going to cleave in the midst of it. But is he coming by himself? Go ahead and read.
And ye shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach unto Azar.
Go ahead.
Yeah, ye shall flee, like as ye fled from before the earthquake and the days of Uzziah, king of Judah. And the Lord my God shall come, and all the saints with him.
And the Lord my God shall come, and all the saints with him. Where did he get these saints from? They met him in the air. Paul was quoting Zechariah here when he said that the Lord said he's going to bring the saints with him. He had to, because the prophets said he was going to bring it. So being in the ground or on the ground was just a minor little adjustment that had to be made. I just raised it, and you're going to meet me, and we're all going to come right on back to this earth. But we ain't going to do that until the seventh trumpet is blown. And let's go into Matthew, 24th chapter. Sisters and brothers, the Lord giving us all this good information. I just have 3 more places after this. But I'm going to let you out of here. Matthew chapter 24. But just think, this is the memorial of the blowing of the trumpets. And every time you have one of these high days at the Israeli God, you're going to learn something else too that the Lord wants you to know. And it's always going to get to the same place. In the kingdom, and you being God. That's what I'm living for. I want to be just like my big brother Jesus. And the book says he is the firstborn of many brothers. That includes sisters too. Matthew 24. We're going to start reading at verse 27. Matthew chapter 24 and verse 27. Read it.
For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
Now he's letting you know how you're going to know that's him, because a man going to set up, a temple going to be built in Jerusalem, sisters and brothers, by the people that are there. Man going to leave Rome and set up house in the temple. And the whole world is going to say the Lord is back. So Jesus is telling you how I'm coming. You are not going to I'm not going to sneak off and I'm all of a sudden I'm over in the house in Jerusalem. Y'all going to see me. In fact, the one that's going to say he is me, I'm going to take care of him on my way down. Skip down to verse 29. And what time is that going to take place? When he's going to come like the lightning. Just like you see the lightning come from the east and shine forth, it's come from heaven. Everybody going to see him coming. But you will have looked at him for a minimum of 5 months. How can you not know this is him? You're looking at this guy. Verse 29, go ahead.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days.
To remember that these great tribulation, that's when the Lord going to have to, that's when he'll heaven roll back. So now here come the Lord. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, go ahead.
Shall the sun be darkened.
Sun going to go out.
And the moon shall not give her light.
Moon going to turn red.
And the stars shall fall from heaven.
And the stars going to fall. Go ahead.
And the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
Why are the tribes mourning? Everybody looking for Jesus. You know, sisters and brothers, I'm not going to lie, the Lord gave me a real analytical mind. I read and research everything. When I saw the stars going to fall today, I said, wait a minute, you got some stars that's bigger than earth. But then Peter wrote, with the heavens being on fire, because they're going to burn up trying to get into the atmosphere. I said, oh, now, okay, that makes sense to me. I can move on now. Because it have to make sense, sister and brother. Because the God that I serve makes sense. So now, all the tribes of the earth go mourn. Didn't it tell you in Revelation it's the hiding from it? So, because all the tribes of the earth know they've been lying on it. Go ahead and read.
And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other.
So now, Israel cannot return until the Lord comes. And when he blow that seventh trumpet, that also he have an innumerable amount of angels that will dispatch the angels to start together Israel, sisters and brothers. Don't nobody pay no attention to this little old bitty thing where the Jews are back home. They are not. Plus Jacob had 12 sons, not one. Jude is the tribe of Judah. What about Benjamin? What about Levi? What about Naphtali? What about Simeon? What about Joseph's tribe? A whole lot got to come, sisters and brothers. All 12 of them. But he's going to send them. And let me show you, ain't nobody going nowhere until the trumpet is blown. Let's go into Isaiah the 27th chapter. I'm telling you, sisters and brothers, that's why this day of a trumpet is one, the memorial of the trumpet is one important day. This is an important day because it tells you ain't nobody going to do nothing until these angels blow the trumpet. And now show you how ignorant the world is. Everybody's always talking about Gabriel. Gabriel don't blow no horn. He's a messenger. I just show you how uninformed people are. He is a messenger. Out of these whole 7, he's not one of them. He's the one that brought the message to these prophets and these apostles that we're reading about. We're reading from, that wrote this. I can show you that too. Because it's all in the book. There ain't no room for interpretation. That's why the brother told me, that's your interpretation. It was over with. I mean, conversation is over. So I want to tell you now, if you want to stop talking, want me to stop talking to you, say one time, this is your interpretation. I'm not smart enough to interpret the God that created the very air that I breathe, and I have never seen it one time. Isaiah 27, we're going to start reading at verse 12. Isaiah 27, we're going to start reading at verse 12. Okay, read.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall beat off from the channel of the river unto the stream of Egypt, and ye shall be gathered one by one, O ye children of Israel.
Look, the Lord got Israel scattered all over the world. And when he said one by one, that let me know he ain't going to leave one Israelite. Brother goes, well, you know, I ain't no Jew. I said, don't make no difference. They're going to bring you anyway. One by one. Well, I'm a Negro. I said, no, you ain't that. That's what you used to be. Well, I'm colored. You ain't that no more. That's what you used to be. I'm Afro-American. You ain't that no more. That's what you used to be. But what am I then? Now you're an African-American. But it don't matter what you think. The Lord's going to grab your hand, oh Israelite, and he's going to take you home. So even here, around the African continent, and wherever in America, wherever, go ahead, in this whole hemisphere, wherever, go ahead and read.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the great trumpet shall be blown.
Now hear that trumpet again, ain't it? And it shall come to pass in that day that great trumpet shall be blown. Go ahead.
And they shall come which were ready to perish in the land of Assyria, and the outcasts in the land of Egypt, and shall worship the Lord in the holy mount at Jerusalem.
And they not only going to come in Assyria and Egypt, but everywhere. And they all going to go back and worship the Lord of hosts, sister and brother. Because the Lord said, when that trumpet is blown, that last trumpet, that's when the gathering be. These trumpets mean something. Let's go into Joel, the 2nd chapter again. I want to show you something here. And then after that is one more place. Joel chapter 2. Because, sisters and brothers, the Lord have this thing so airtight, and it have it designed so, until you have to be blinder than Ray Charles, and he's dead, not to see. All you got to do is read the book. That's all you got to do. The Word of God is not hard. That's what they talk about, the simplicity of Christ. It is simple. Word of God, if you thirsty, drink water. If you tired, sit down. That's simple, ain't it? Like I say all the time, a person tell me, I'm getting tired of people walking on me. I said, then stand up. I like that simplicity of the Lord. You understand what I'm saying? You want to know about it? Read the book. It is there. Joel, the 2nd chapter. This is what the Lord said now. And we're going to start at verse 15. Joel 2 and 15. Joel 2 and verse 15. Because, sisters and brothers, these things here, the Lord put here because he wants to let you know exactly how this thing is going to come down. I don't have to believe. I don't have to guess. I know. Read it.
Blow the trumpet in Zion.
There we go again, ain't we? Blow the trumpet in Zion. Go ahead.
Sanctify a fast.
Sanctify a fast.
Call a solemn assembly.
Call a solemn assembly. Go ahead.
Gather the people.
And gather the people from where? From all over the world, sisters and brothers. Go ahead and read.
Sanctify the congregation. Assemble the elders.
Go ahead.
Gather the children. And those that suck the breast.
I mean, don't leave nobody. Get them for help from wherever they are. Right. Go ahead and read.
Let the bridegroom go forth of his chamber, and the bride out of her closet.
Who is the bridegroom? Jesus. That's why he talks about the marriage of the Lamb. Who is the bride? Israel. Physically and those that are spiritually Israel. Because it tells you in Revelation, blessed are holy are those that are called to the marriage supper of the Lamb. This is what it's talking about. Go ahead and read.
Let the priests, the ministers of the Lord, weep between the porch and the altar, and let them say, spare thy people, O Lord, and give not thine heritage to reproach.
Go ahead.
That the heathen should rule over them. Wherefore should they say among the people, where's their God? Then shall the Lord be jealous out of his land and pity his people. Yeah, the Lord will answer and say unto his people, behold, I will send you corn and wine and oil, and ye shall be satisfied therewith. And I will no more make you a reproach among the heathen.
He said, look, I'm going to tell you, my people, I'm going to bless your farms. I'm going to bless your crops, because it's going to still be farming and crops, because people have to eat. And I'm not going to make you a reproach anymore among the nations. That's what he did. And you are a reproach anywhere you are. Believe me, I've been to a few places. And one thing I find in common, everybody had this common thought about me. Yeah, okay. I walk in, you leave it. Go ahead and read.
But I will remove far off from you the northern army.
Wait a minute. Who is that northern army? Russia. And we're going to show you. What's he going to do? Go ahead and read.
And will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face toward the east sea, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea.
Now, if he's facing the east sea and his back toward the utmost, he's driving him off into what is Siberia? Go ahead and read.
And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he hath done great things.
The Lord said, but I'm going to kill him, though. And you're going to hear and he's going to stank up the whole place because he have done great things. Don't you know Russia is the last nation to go? And right now, he ain't going to be finished with him. He's going to kill all of them but a sixth power, because he got one more job for Russia to do after the 1,000-year millennium period. But everything that's happened, sisters and brothers, is called by the trumpets. If the trumpet don't blow, it don't happen. So now we understand how important it is to observe this day of the trumpets, don't we? But there's one more thing going to happen at this. Let's go into 1 Corinthians 15th chapter. The last place. 1 Corinthians the 15th chapter. That's why a lot of times I just listen to people talk and they don't have a clue. Well, you know, I've been in church for 40 years. I know the Lord loved me. Ask me to poke chops. They probably do, because you're so uninformed, they ain't going to hold your feet to the fire. But somebody going to come along and say, you know, you shouldn't eat that. And they're going to read 11th chapter of Leviticus to you, in the 14th chapter of Deuteronomy, now they just put you in danger. Because it is written, it's better not to know than know and don't do. Think about it. 1 Corinthians 15 chapter, let's start at verse 51. 1 Corinthians 15 and verse 51. 15 and 51. Okay, read.
Behold, I show you a mystery.
I show you a mystery. Go ahead.
We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed.
Look, everybody's not going to be dead when Jesus comes. I intend to be here. I intend to see the heavens roll back like a scroll. I intend to look at all of it from the wilderness. So the whole thing about it, sisters and brothers, he said, I show you a mystery. We shall not all die, but we all are going to be changed. Go ahead and read.
In a moment.
In the moment.
In the twinkling of an eye.
In the twinkling of an eye.
At the last trump.
At the last trump. That's when you're going to get your first crop of gods. You're going to get some after the 1,000 years, but the first crop, and when that seventh crop is blown, that's when the dead going to come out the ground, and the living going to change, and we're going to meet the Lord in the air. That's the first crop of gods. But we have not been taught to think that big is too big for us. You cannot believe in your mind that God created you to be God. That's the first crop. I want to be a part of that first crop. Go ahead and read.
For the trumpet shall sound.
For the trumpet shall sound.
And the dead shall be raised incorruptible. And we shall be changed.
And we shall be changed. Go ahead.
For this corruptible must put on incorruption. And this mortal must put on immortality.
Go ahead.
So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory.
Sisters and brothers, it wasn't supposed to be here in the first place. Death was not a part of the original creation. It was added because a man misbehaved. And the Lord said, it don't belong here, and he is going to take it away.